right. And we're live. All right. So we've got Dave Rodriguez here from Winwood Brewing, assistant brewer and head cellarman, and founder and former president of Brew FIU. And the special guest is Alexandra Nowell. She's been head brewer at Kinetic at Drake's and is currently the head brewer for Three Weavers Brewing Company out in California. And the best thing of all, South Florida girl.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
Hi.
It's good.
All right, so the reason you guys are here together is because, well, you guys are friends, so that's cool. And two, thought it'd be really cool to we can do a little comparing and contrasting, Miami, California, and Dave can bother you about things that he knows that I don't know. So,
Cool.
How about that?
That works.
I'll do my best. I promise.
All right.
Don't fuck it up.
So, all right. So, I guess the first question that I want to know is, what was it that got you into brewing in Miami? It really, for all intents and purposes, a really small craft brewing community. Dave's at the one real production brewer that we have in Miami.
Right.
So what kind of started you on that track?
The brewing science class at FIU. Because when I was there, when I lived in Florida, I graduated in 2009. There was no craft beer scene. Like, we had Titanic, right?
Right.
And Gordon Biersch. And
Houston's closed. So.
yeah, I know. You got their brewer. And then that was it, pretty much, right? And then, like, Cigar City was just kind of getting started, and Tampa and St. Somewhere was there, and Florida Beer Company, whatever. But it's still small handful of actual craft breweries operating in Florida. And that brewing science class with Barry Gump just kind of exposed me to this craft that I had never been exposed to before, and I really loved it. Everything about it. I mean, it helps that, like, any sort of, like, the lab portion of the course was drinking beer, and that was awesome. But I don't know, something about it, just everything about it kind of captured me, and I abandoned all plans to go to law school that August, or actually it would have been the next August, to pursue brewing, which was partly because Professor Gump was like, you could actually have a profession in brewing. It exists.
I wish somebody would have told me that before I went to law school.
Yeah, so I started taking brewing science in, like, fall of 2008, and that was the beginning of my senior year. And so I took that semester, and then by the end of the fall semester, I was like, I really like this. This is kind of freaking me out. And then the spring semester rolls around, and I was like a TA for the home brewing class or something, which was essentially the continuation of the first semester of brewing science. And that's when it started to kind of sink in that I really, really liked everything about it, and I wanted to pursue it more, and it seemed a little bit cooler of a choice than law school. And so, no offense.
Yeah, no, I mean, none taken. What were you studying?
I have a degree in religious studies.
Oh, geez.
And I
That's
focused specifically on, like, Judaism and Holocaust studies. Yeah, it's basically like a Jewish history degree. I was raised a Jew, and I was just really interested in those things. I took up a lot of photography and brewing and a lot of the sciences. So I have a very liberal arts background with, like, a specific focus on Jewish history, which is perfect for going to law school because, I mean, it was just a research-intensive degree. But it turns out, like, I've never been – the only time I ever got asked if I had a college degree was my internship right out of college at Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess so. If you don't mind me asking, what do your parents do? What did they say when you said, "Mom, I'm not going to law school anymore. Dad, I'm not going to law school anymore. I'm going to go become"?
They freaked out. They freaked out for a little while. Yeah. I guess my father was the only one that was really, really cool about it because he loves beer. My mom was a little freaked out, one part of her wanted to be really supportive of me, and the other one's like, how are you going to make a living brewing beer? I've never heard of this before. She'd basically never been exposed. And then my stepfather flat out told me that I was being stupid. And so So, you know, I
Did you
did what I
say,
wanted.
well, guys, don't worry about it. All my friends like my beer. You know,
Yeah, it wasn't even.
there's
That wasn't even the point at the time. I was like, oh well, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm gonna pursue this anyway. So, I did, and it's paid off. I think I don't regret it a single day.
It's awesome. Did you go straight from FIU to Sierra Nevada?
I graduated. I still have a condo in Fort Lauderdale, and that was all. It was. I got it rented out. I moved to my parents' house in Sebring, and I was there for 3 weeks before I got the. It was an internship, and they're like, "Well, how fast can you be there?" I'm like, "I can drive out like tomorrow." I was there in 5 days, so.
Yeah, you can't really turn that down.
No, it was amazing. I lived at the brewery. They have like a duplex on site that I got to live in, and they paid
Wow.
me, and it was a really amazing, like, out of college first brewery experience.
That's huge. I mean, what kind of things are they giving you as an intern to do right out of school? I mean,
I had technical writing experience as well, and that kind of coupled with like whatever knowledge I had of brewing, and then the ability to research and build these into, like, I don't know, papers. I wrote a training course for them.
oh, cool.
So I wrote for everything from grain to glass, how they do it at Sierra Nevada, a training program for their production employees. So it was really cool.
That's pretty awesome. Dave, what was your beer tasting like at this point in time?
Well, no, it's cool because I actually, when I met Alex, it was through a mutual friend of ours, Brittany, and we were both taking the brewing class, and you know, she came by, Dr. Gump introduced her, and I was like, awesome, I want to talk to her because she knows about beer, and you know, I felt like I was kind of like the nerdy beer guy in the class, and everybody else was there just to drink. I was like, I want to learn more about beer.
I
So,
was working at Drake's though at the time, right?
no, because I think you brought me a bottle of beer that said BBQ,
Oh
and
god, that was some really gross homebrew.
I loved it because I'm that guy that loves like smoked beer, smoke something. I mean, give me an ashtray and a glass, I'll drink it.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty cool smoked beer. It didn't finish out quite as much as I had maybe wanted it to, but that was totally interesting beer. I've made much better smoked beers since then.
I'm not gonna hold it against you. I'm just saying, you're like, hey, you like beer? Try this. I was like, all right.
Oh yeah, those were the Sierra Nevada days. Yeah.
No, I mean, essentially, yeah, Sierra Nevada, I mean, it seemed like you had a lot of experience out of that, and I do have a very profound question to ask. You know, who could cuddle the best, Tasty McDowell or Ken Grossman?
Oh, tasty.
Ah,
Come on.
but, all right. I mean, Ken looks like a nice guy. I don't know. I mean, that's just like,
Oh, he's totally super nice dude, but like he's a professional, man. Like he doesn't have a very snuggly demeanor. I don't know. Mike McDowell tries to snuggle with me every time I see him, so I guess I have more experience. The snuggling with Tasty thing. Hi, Tasty.
That was my random question that goes nowhere. So.
That is pretty profound, man. Oh, man. So you're at Sierra Nevada for how long?
I was an intern there for 6 months.
Okay. 6
And then
months you were writing the guidelines for their trainings.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was awesome. They gave me like carte blanche around their brewery, which was awesome. I learned so much while I was there, and it set my standards unbelievably high for like future brewery positions and what breweries should look like, how clean they should be specifically, and kind of an attention to detail and integrity as a brewer. So it was the best foundation ever.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is pretty much a staple pale ale. So I mean, it's kind of to be getting the experience at a brewery with that kind of reputation, that kind of, and they're everywhere. I mean, they distribute every state probably.
And many countries now.
Right.
Yeah, the first beer I ever had that I could actually pull the hop profile out was a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It was at the Miller Ale House in North Miami Beach.
There you go.
It's still there, by the way.
Oh, good. I'm sure there's still Pale Ale on tap too.
Yeah, they guarantee that. Yeah.
Awesome. So 6 months at Sierra Nevada, and then off to Moylan's Brewing Company.
Mhm.
All right. And how'd you land that? What kind of things were you doing there?
So I met the then brewmaster of Moylan's at a Women in Beer event during San Francisco Beer Week at Beer Revolution in Oakland, which is a really cool beer bar. And she was there talking with people. I brought another one of my home brews. I hate it when people do that to me. You know, I'm just like, why did I do that? But anyway, so I brought it to her, and we talked for a while, and she said it wasn't bad. She was being very nice. It was actually okay.
Was it a
And I was
smoked
like,
barbecue beer?
no, it was a sweet stout, but it wasn't
Nice.
sweet. It was good. It was actually not a bad beer. And then I was like, at the end of everything, I'm like, so when are you gonna give me a job? Like, I've been unemployed for 6 months. I'm living in Chico, but I can move down here like at a moment's notice. And she's like, give me 2 weeks and call me. And I did. Called her, and she offered me a job. So when I was there, I worked in the cellar. I bottled beer. I kegged beer. I cleaned things. It was like the quintessential brewery grunt job.
I mean, but you got to do those things, right? I mean, if you're not doing those things, you're not going to understand. I'd imagine
Yeah.
what it goes into to be a head brewer at a place.
Yeah, it was a good grunt job, but it didn't really give me the opportunity for advancement that I really wanted,
Sure.
like to actually get into a brew house. And so I found a job at Drake's after about 6 months of being at Moylan's in living in Berkeley. So I hung out at Triple Rock a lot in Berkeley, and the head brewer became a friend of mine, Roger Davis, who was the head brewer at the time, and he was really closely connected with Drake's and knew they were looking for a brewer. So I interviewed and got the job.
It's pretty. I mean, your like progression is so quick. It's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
I knew I didn't want to be making $10 an hour and filling bottles and kegs for a long time. So
I don't blame
I
That's
tried
a
to get
high
another
standard.
job. Huh?
That's a high standard. I think I'm making like 9 and change.
Don't tell me that.
No, no, no. Well, actually, I was gonna interject here. So, I mean, do you think that by landing at Moylan's, it was because of your experiences here in Nevada, or a combination of that, and because I'm gonna pull the reverse sex card because you were a female, you have female, brewmasters, that kind of fall in line. I guess my question is, how is the female brewing segment in California?
Denise may have hired me initially because I was female. It definitely, I mean, Sierra Nevada looks really good on your resume, but I don't think there was any sort of skill that I picked up at Sierra that she really wanted me for at Moylan's. She just wanted me to do the dirty work. And she gave me a shot. She needed labor, maybe at first because I was a woman. I mean, she treated me like all of the other guys there, if not was quite a bit harder on me than the rest of them.
I need to pan this over a second. I have Luis here, special guest.
Hi.
Oh, should see what he was doing earlier.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I mean that's something that you're a big supporter of is women in brewing. And
Yeah, absolutely. I've been fundraising for the Pink Boots Society as long as I've been involved in the brewing industry. I've raised somewhere around probably about $5,000 total for them, which is pretty cool. And I continue to try and spearhead kind of fundraising initiatives. I had the chapter, I don't know what you call me, the chairperson of the LA chapter, which is really new. I mean, there's so few women in LA in the brewing industry. I'm the only female brewer in LA County. But,
yeah, I mean I was going to go into. I mean, it's not really I mean, it's pretty impressive. And I was talking to Dave the other day about it. It's pretty impressive that you've been able to climb up the ranks and get to the point where you're at today, especially in an industry kind of dominated by men. As a female, I mean, do you think it's dominated by men because there's less interest from women in beer, or is it maybe something else that you've noticed along your road?
well, I mean, okay, so you prove yourself really fast, whether you're a man or a woman, and I've been lucky to learn from a lot of who I call like the old guard, the brewing industry in Northern California, and they didn't really care that I was a woman. There's a lot of heavy lifting. It's dirty. It's sweaty. There's a lot of manual labor involved, and I just think that it's not offered to women because they think that maybe women want to shy away from this really kind of laborious position, which is bullshit. I know quite a lot of women now in the brewing industry that are getting more into the production side of things. So I think it was just kind of like not until recently. I mean, craft beer was not mainstream, and people really had no awareness of it. So I think it was really an awareness thing. So yeah, it's not. I mean, women love beer. I mean, that's been proven. It's a huge part of our market. It's just a really physical job.
I
You
agree.
know?
I agree, and I'm gonna take it one step further and say that women, at least here in Miami, that come into our tap room and try our beers here at Wynwood, they're more adventurous than men. I mean, like you have the guys come here saying, "Give me the lightest thing that's kind of like a Corona or a Heineken," and I'm like, there's the door. But women are like, "Give me the IPA, give me the Belgian Strong," and like they're more willing, from what I've seen, to try new things and to just, man up. I don't know what it is. I mean, these guys are just like, give me the lightest thing because I'm sensitive. I mean, get out of here with that shit. But I don't know. At least that's here. So I'm not sure about.
Well, I was a bartender at a beer bar, high volume beer bar, for about 2 years when I was, working these like grunt jobs, making $10 an hour. Needed another job just to survive in the Bay Area, and there was a couple times where like a couple would come in and the man would want like the fruitiest, sweetest thing on tap.
Right.
And his girlfriend or wife or whatever would go for like this big dank like resinous double IPA, and I always found that really funny. But then that kind of comes down to these like predisposed thoughts we have on like gender, and especially when it comes to beer, which doesn't particularly. I mean, I drink across the spectrum of beer. I'm a brewer, but I always have. I don't know. I think there's I mean, okay, so you go into certain states like Colorado. I remember the first time I went to Colorado for the Great American Beer Festival, and I met so many female brewers, which haven't, I don't know why. There's just so many all over the state of Colorado, and it's just totally normal. So it's changing. The industry.
Is that a good thing? Does it matter?
Huh?
Is that a good thing? Bad thing?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. The founder of Three Weavers is a woman. One of the people that I'm interviewing for a production job, also a woman. Not that it matters or anything, because I have one of our brewers that I've hired is one of my former assistants from Kinetic. A guy. It doesn't. I don't really see gender as an issue. If you can get the work done and be mature and professional about it, then it doesn't really matter like what's in your pants.
Right. So what's the big message for the Pink Boot Society?
Education, really. We try and raise money to advance women's careers in the brewing industry through education. So our fundraisers are for scholarships. We're giving out a scholarship a month this year to things like Hops Academies, like Hop Union has a Hops and Brew School in Yakima during harvest. John Haas and BSG do the same thing. We offer training for bartenders who maybe want to step up and take their Cicerone exam or the MBA Beer Steward exam. There's a small business, like how to start a craft brewery, being offered by Oregon State University. We offered a scholarship to that. So it's just basically advancing women's careers in the brewing industry through education and making it possible for them to be able to do these things, without worrying about the financial burden.
Cool. And I saw you, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you brewed a beer as part of your fundraiser. One of your fundraisers.
I did a Saison when I was at Drake's, and that was actually the first scholarship beer ever brewed for the Pink Boot Society, and there's been many more since then, but basically I had my vendors donate all of the ingredients. The owner of Drake's donated my labor and basic overhead on the beers, and we netted somewhere around like $2,300 from the brew itself, and then had pint nights all over town where accounts offered like $1 per pint. Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. So it's happened quite a few more times since then.
I gotta say, I'm kind of jealous as we're talking. You guys are both taking drinks of beer in your hands, and
you want me to grab you one from over here?
Yeah, that would be nice.
I just say that you're unprepared. That's all.
I am unprepared. All right. Yeah. All right. So.
You can go grab a beer if you want.
No.
Is it right there in the? Is it in the kegerator or what is that?
It's a wine fridge. I had beer in there the other day, and I was just making sure. I think I drank it already. So, yeah, I was looking for that. Ah, well. What's your favorite style to brew?
I like brewing IPAs because, I mean, brewing is the same from batch to batch when you're a production brewer. The ingredients are different, okay, but the process is pretty much the same.
Right.
So it's really cool when I get to play with new varieties of hops, just to kind of see what the end result is. That and lagers, really light, delicate lagers, because it's more of a skilled thing, and then fermenting at the right temperature, letting it lager long enough. And
I've been described as that, light and delicate.
I see. It must be the beard.
Is this impressive? I mean, you can't see with the backdrop of my shirt, but it's.
No, you can't
I
at
was just
all.
gonna say that 1 foot long beard screams light and delicate.
I bet that treats you really well in the summertime, huh?
It gets a little humid, a little warm, but you just put it over the shoulder and it's good to go. So, can you talk a little bit, Alex, talk a little bit more of bearded women in the brewing industry? 'Cause that's a very small segment that needs a lot of attention, a lot of.
Very small segment. I've met a couple of women who I think may struggle with their beards, but it's all about everyone's just it's like repressed. This bearded society of women, it's completely repressed. So is that what you wanted?
Are you talking about Dave?
Is he? Well, I don't know. I mean,
Can
I
I
don't
join
know.
the pink? Can I join the Pink Boot Society? I mean, or is that just like women only? 'Cause that'd be I think sexist towards me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. That is definitely sexism, but no, I'm sorry, you can't join. You can buy a pair of pink boots though, and it helps support like breast cancer research.
Oh, you know I will, and I will
I'm
wear them.
pretty sure they make them in men's sizes. I think they might.
Or I'll
You
just
can
get like large women size XL.
try. You can try. You can try.
Here, here
Do they
comes
come with high
here
heels?
comes the plug. Where can we go find out more about that?
Oh,
Society.
pinkbootsociety.org.
There's a plug.
Yeah,
Boom.
check it out. It's good, and give us your money if you want.
If you want.
That's pretty shameless. I love it.
Yeah, there we go. Did we get
We are a 501c3 corporation, which means every donation is tax deductible. So.
You don't need that to do good things. Come on.
No, you don't. But it
You
helps.
shouldn't need that.
It helps organizations give you money, sizable donations, because it becomes a tax deduction for them. It's business, man.
Is it nationwide or is it limited to California?
International.
International.
It's international. Pink Boots in New Zealand just launched. Pretty sure we have an Australia chapter, England, Canada. Nothing in Mexico yet, although I feel like that's coming next because there's been a really huge growth of craft breweries in like Baja.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so I don't live too far from the Mexico border. I mean, it's 2 hours south. But yeah, Ensenada has a lot of really great breweries. Handful. Tijuana, I think, has something like 30 craft breweries. Some of them are really tiny. Anywhere up to, I think the largest one in like the northern Baja area is Wenland in Ensenada. I think they have a 15-barrel brew house now, but their beers are spectacular. And then there's breweries down in Cabo too. There's some in Guadalajara, Mexico City, Mexicali has some breweries. It's really cool. And
awesome.
know how to put on beer festivals. Like the longest ones I've ever been to, it was 12 hours.
Oh, nice. Yes. That's dangerous.
It was fantastic.
Can you get a wait a minute? Can you get a DUI on a burro?
In California, yes. In Mexico, probably not.
Olay.
So
Yeah.
the craft beer industry, it's awesome how much it's growing. And I was talking to Wayne Wambles a couple months ago, and he was saying that one of the big issues with the growth of the industry, which is it's a great thing, and everyone agrees about that, except for our legislature here in Florida. But one of the big issues is going to be whether there's going to be enough ingredients to support the market. Are you having issues with hop allocations now, with grain, with? I mean, he's saying that he's reserving hops 2-3 years out already.
I've signed. Okay, so my brewery is not open yet, but
Right.
I have signed hop contracts through the harvest of 2019, which means those are my hops for 2020. It's 2014, so I'm secure through 6 years. Not 100% all the way through because it's kind of hard to gauge your growth, but so I have witnessed this in the past. I was in the brewing industry at the very end of the previous hop shortage when hops were more expensive than they are now. And I think that actually hops are incredibly undervalued. It's not a cheap product to create, and we need to make sure that the farmers are making a living too. They need to be able to be paid for growing these hops, and everything, all the resources are becoming more expensive. The labor is more expensive to grow these hops. And so, yeah, some people have a squeeze on their ingredient supply chain, but if you are kind of aware of the fact that these things happen, you prepare accordingly. You basically you have to have your own back in the brewing industry, and writing contracts with your hop vendors is the way to do it. It lets the growers know what they need to grow. Then you look at like Yakima Valley, second largest hop growing region in the world. They're out of acreage. There's nowhere else for them to grow.
Right.
So, but the thing is, they do still grow a lot of high alpha hops for the big guys, and they export a lot of their hops. So I think that we'll see a lot less of the hops leaving our country, and they'll shift towards more of these aroma varieties that are so popular with American craft brewers now. I think that malt, we're okay. You know, a lot of barley and wheat is still not produced for malting because the government doesn't subsidize malt. They subsidize feed, soybeans, alfalfa, corn, and stuff like that, and craft brewers aren't using any of that stuff. So it's also a business on the farm side. It has to be lucrative for the growers. I buy most of my malts. I buy Canadian two-row. I have for a long time, sometimes American two-row. And then all of my crystal malts come from England and Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what do you buy from Canada? Superior?
No, it's RAR. I buy RAR from Canada.
See that.
RAR two-row. And their
that's
wheat's
awesome.
really good too. But I love Simpson's malts. It's a Scottish company, but they're in northern England, and I think they make the best crystal malts in the world. And then Wireman for all my German stuff. I mean, they're unbeatable as well. So, there's going to be a squeeze on ingredients with growth, but you know, just like I think that we don't charge enough for our beer as an industry, a lot of these ingredient vendors also don't charge enough for their ingredients. So we'll probably see this kind of upward tick in cost.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, how much? Okay, so I mean, obviously the ingredients go up. We're gonna have an increase in the price of beer, but I guess in your opinion, how much of an increase can this craft beer market support?
Okay, so if you look at what, as a brewer, if you go through a distributor, your distributor takes 25 to 30% the cost of your beer. Say you sell a keg, a half-barrel keg, to like goes retail or whatever from the wholesaler to like a keg of IPA is $170. In places like LA and Miami, you can sell a pint for $6, $7, $8 of that beer. Imagine if you're getting 120 pints out of a half-barrel keg at $6 to $7 to $8 a pint, and you sold it to them for $170. There's a lot of room for them to come down on their profit margins over the bar. I mean, we make the most money selling our beer over our own bars because where it takes us like 35, 40 cents a pint, sell it for $5 in our tasting room. We make the most profit that way, but I don't know. I think that they're just going to have to deal with the increased costs. Unfortunately, the larger guys are able to sell their kegs for $85, $90, $100. So people are just going to have to continue to be interested in craft beer and want to seek out these kind of premium brands and craft brands for us to survive, which I don't think will have an issue. I mean, craft is like 8% of the national market of beer. We've got like 92% to grow.
Yeah, but I guess a follow-up question to that is, the reason I ask is because I feel like a lot of people kind of find craft beer a little bit more approachable, at least our generation's drinkers, in comparison to something like wine, where you're spending, even though some of the beer is getting up to the price of, some $30, $40 bottles of beer out there.
Yeah. Those are the exception rather than the rule, though.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I guess the concern is, do you have any concern with okay, now we've got to charge a little bit more. The distributors probably aren't going to take a hit. The bars probably aren't going to take a hit. So now we're going to increase. Do you have any concern that, their unwillingness to maybe shave a little bit off that profit margin is going to kind of turn some people off to more craft brands? I
think so. I mean, that's already happening. I've talked with bar owners in LA who will remain nameless. It says, well, I mean, is your IPA better than Racer 5? Like, well, yeah. I mean, I personally think that my IPA will be better than Racer 5. Like, well, where does the keg cost come in? Like, well, it's probably about $10 more a keg than Racer 5 is. And he's like, well, then why would I switch to your beer when I can have Racer 5 for $10 less? Right. And I'm like, dude, $10 on a keg? What is that to you? So,
it's 2 pints, maybe.
Right, so it's silly. So, and in LA, I mean, beer prices are high.
Right.
Some people will definitely be turned off by that, but I think that the growth of the market will kind of, there's going to be new bars coming in, new accounts available, and
Sure.
we'll just go in that direction. Not too
Yeah.
worried about it. Not
Yeah, I mean-
too worried about it at all. I think that we don't charge enough for our beer as it is.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. I mean, there's a lot of, I know that there's a lot of, I brew with these guys down here at Wynwood, and there's a lot of, a lot of moving parts that go into making that pint that you're drinking. So it's not just like you press a button and it goes. So the price, I think, is justified, but I guess we covered the concern issues, but.
Yeah, no, and really, I think one of our highest costs is labor. I mean, we need to pay our people living wages, especially living in one of the most unaffordable cities in the United States, Los Angeles. You got to pay people to survive in order to do good work for you. Otherwise, it's like a rotating door. I mean, they'll leave, they'll go somewhere else that pays them more.
I mean, how important is, in a lot of industries, the rotating door doesn't matter too much, but I guess in a brewery, I'd imagine that a rotating door is a really bad thing for your brewery. I mean, you don't want people coming in and out.
No.
The continuity is probably extremely important when it comes to, I guess, your comfort and state of mind when you're going into the brew house.
Well, it is. I mean, it's important. The thing is, it costs a lot of money to train people properly and to start to trust them, especially if they don't have a lot of experience. And yeah, it sucks to have someone leave. I've had people leave from previous jobs, but totally couldn't hold it against them why they were leaving. They were going somewhere else to seek a different type of brewing experience. Like there was one guy that was one of my favorite employees to date. He left Drake's for Lagunitas, but he wanted more experience on these larger automated systems that at Drake's we just couldn't offer him that kind of experience. And now he's out of Brooklyn. He's been at Brooklyn Brewery for like 3 years now. And you can't blame someone like that for leaving you.
Right.
And he was awesome.
So we're going to talk about Drake's now, because you brought it up. You said your favorite style to brew is IPA. I know Drake's has got some pretty stellar IPAs. I guess, when did you start working with Drake's?
2010. 2010, yeah.
And you didn't start off as a lead brewer, though?
No. I just started off as a shift brewer. But when I started at Drake's, there was 4 of us working in there. So we handled everything from cleaning kegs to, filling kegs, filtering the beer, brewing the beer, working the festivals. We even worked the tasting room. We staffed the tasting room 3 days out of the week before we had a legitimate tasting room put in, which was interesting.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, we'd have guys. There was this one time when I was in the brew house by myself. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, mashing in or something, and the roll-up door, one of our large roll-up doors, was open, I don't know, maybe a couple of feet or something, and he sticks his head on it. He's like, "Hey, can I buy a 6-pack of IPA?" I'm like, "Bro, we're not open till noon." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, can I get some IPA?" And I'm like, "Go away, just go away." And so that happened often.
I have to admit, though, the Denogonizer, pretty amazing. I'm a huge fan. I appreciate, you throw an extra bottle in the goodie bag when Gump would receive his. So very fond of that beer, so appreciate it.
Good. Yeah, I haven't talked to Gump in a while. He didn't respond to my last email. Bastard.
He doesn't respond to mine either. I mean, just call him. He's one of those guys.
You guys just called him out. You guys just called him out on social media. That's great.
It's cool.
I'm sure you'll love that.
He's the beginning to all of my stories about how did you get into the brewing industry, so he's welcome. Sure. I was just in a book too, and I think that I may have mentioned him. I don't know if I mentioned him by name though. I should have. Damn it, I should have.
Do you want to plug the book?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, that's an intro, right? Look all the free plugs we're giving here.
Jeez.
Okay, so this book
Ooh.
called California Brewmasters.
All right.
And the author and photographer's name is Nick Gingold, and he is an awesome photographer, and he photographed, I think there's 45 of us or something, all California Brewmasters in our element, which is really awesome. They got a picture of me on Dockweiler Beach. Our brewery's super close to the beach, and it's also kind of one of my favorite places to be, which was really cool.
Where's that book available?
And it has our stories in it too, huh?
Where's that book available?
You can get it on Amazon.com and then also through cabrewmasters.com. if you want to buy it directly from him, but it is on Amazon. It's worth every penny. You can learn all these silly little information bits about how I became a brewer. And then also, we have some of the most, I think, prolific brewmasters in the country in California. So you can learn their stories too.
Yeah, I was going to go into that too. I mean, California is like a top tier market, obviously, for craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more of a competitive thing because of that? Or are you guys pretty collaborative when it comes to, hey, I got a question, and pick up the phone and call, Brewer X at
Yeah, at Stone, which I do.
right.
We're super close. It's a very collaborative industry, and even California or not, I mean, it's more accessible for me to call some California brewers because they're the people that I was kind of raised as a brewer around, so I've known them the longest. But I know people all over the country that I can give a ring to. Although I never call Matt Brynildson at Firestone Walker. He still intimidates me a little bit, but.
And you were at Drake's as a lead brewer for how long?
I was a brewer for just under 2 years, and then I was a lead brewer for just over a year. And so I basically took over that position when former head brewer Brian Thorson left and went to Michigan. Essentially, I was the head brewer there, but it wasn't a title that we had. So I took over the barrel aging program. I was handling all the cask, all the real ale stuff to that point. But when Brian left, I was able to take hold of creative control of all of the recipes, which was really cool. And then I was able to do all of the new recipe development too, for beers like Alpha Session, Aroma Prieta, Apocalypse Black Label, which is really cool. And just kind of making all of our other beers, IPA, 1500s, and Organizer, the best beers they could be. Really strict when it comes to quality, and then also the quality of the ingredients. So I tried to kind of bring us up to the highest quality ingredients, malt and hop-wise, that we possibly could.
What's your favorite beer that you brewed while you were there?
It wasn't actually my recipe. Hop salad was amazing. It was a one-off double IPA. Roger Davis's recipe. It was absolutely amazing. If you want to go to recipes that I brewed, it was definitely Alpha Session. At the time, it was called a NorCal Bitter, but most people know that style now as a session IPA. It's done about 4 years ago. So Drake's is credited as doing one of the first session IPAs in the U.S., and so I was part of that kind of early wave of the session IPA.
It's awesome.
And yeah, it was 3.8%, really hoppy, and it's still to this day one of my favorite styles to brew and drink.
It's awesome. Dave, you are doing lots of crazy things over at Wynwood. What's the favorite thing that you've done? He's got these Treatment Tuesdays. Has he told you about that?
I see them on the Facebooks, yeah.
Oh, you see them. Okay. No, I mean, I pretty much royally screwed myself when I said, hey, let's do a new beer every Tuesday. And I'm like, who's with me? And everybody's like, you. I'm like, I'm with me. So I'm literally scrambling to make anything and everything unique for Tuesday's beer.
I did something like that at Kinetic, too. I hated it.
Oh, my God. It's like the monkey that's always on your back saying, like, what's going to be next Tuesday?
Someone's Tuesday. Yeah.
Now, we have so much fun. I mean, we're making so many different beers that we're able to have a lot of bases to experiment with. And one of my favorites that we just kegged today is we made a sushi roll pilsner. We brewed a pilsner, we aged it on cucumbers, and went ahead and added a little bit of ginger and wasabi to it, so it tastes pretty good. So I mean, we just, if it's weird, yes. If it's regular or standard, I don't want to talk about it. So
that's cool though.
We try to do really crazy things. But, I did actually have a question for you, Alex, in regards to California brewers. Should you find yourself in a bar fight, would you rather have Vinny from Russian River on your side or Sean from 21A?
Sean.
Yeah?
Hands down, Sean O'Sullivan, because he can get scrappy when he's drunk. So, and he's taller than Vinny. He's just like, he's got more stance than Vinny does. So. Yeah, Sean's got my back.
It's amazing how she knew you were going with that. Immediately.
I wasn't going anywhere with that. I was planning on nosediving and just blowing up, but she actually made it sound, like it made sense. So good on you.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
As I kill this interview.
I think we're having like some. We're a little late on each other here. Dave's going in and out. You guys can hear everything good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, so we were at Drake's. I know you brewed your last beer at Drake's,
Hmm.
Alex's last stand.
Yeah.
It was, correct me if I'm wrong, an Imperial Stout.
With Blue Bottle Coffee.
Yeah. Can you kind of, I guess, go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so Blue Bottle Coffee is a brand, coffee brand out of Oakland, San Francisco, that I loved. I drank it all the time. I would unofficially bring cases of Drake's beer and trade for bags of coffee to then bring back to my brewers at Drake's, and we were pretty fueled on Blue Bottle Coffee most of the time until I switched to Northbound, which was a friend's roaster. But regardless, I had always wanted to do a collaboration beer with Blue Bottle, kind of in an official manner. They'd never really made a beer with anyone before, and I was a huge Blue Bottle fan. That's really just what I wanted to do for my last beer. And I approached Blue Bottle through the official chains, and they said, yeah, sure, come on in. We can talk about beans and roast profile. And so we chose a Oaxacan bean that I love drinking normally, that they roasted actually a little bit lighter than they would for the coffee itself, just to retain some of the more delicate oils, but still kind of pull the roast profile out of it. And went into a really heavy chocolate-forward, not super roasted stout base beer, just to kind of allow some of the roast to come in from the coffee itself. And it was basically cold steeped. So when you do like a cold brewed coffee, we did that, but with beer. And it ended up tasting really good. And it was finished after I had moved, and the sales manager, Dow from Drake's, was kind enough to send a keg down for me to drink while I was at Kinetic, which was really cool. And I hear that's going to be Drake's holiday beer for this year. Jolly Roger is going to be a Blue Bottle Imperial Coffee Stout. So
That's
Congrats.
awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited for that, actually.
That's one of the cool things about the craft beer industry that, I don't know that a lot of people that I guess aren't in tune to it don't really understand, is that there's a lot of collaboration between different small businesses and industries. So
Yeah.
it's kind of propping up other local community businesses, and I think it's. Do you see that as something that's necessary to this industry to keep it going? These collaborations with other local businesses.
It keeps things interesting, for sure, for me. And because people are so receptive to beer now, to craft beer, it's a really amazing platform for us to promote other people. I don't mind doing it at all. I really love collaborations with breweries and with other businesses. Like I plan on with Three Weavers having one of the tattoo artists that I know down here design a bottle for us,
Awesome.
and it kind of gets his name out locally, and his designs on the bottle itself. We're doing screen printed bottles, so it should look really slick. And then other nonprofits that are down here, there's a wetsuit company that approached us about maybe doing some sort of joint effort, which is cool because I'm a scuba diver and I'd love a wetsuit, completely custom. And with other breweries, it's always a lot of fun to collaborate with other brewers, because we all kind of have different approaches of how to do things what we would see as properly, and it's typically a learning experience, kind of being able to see recipe development through another brewer's eyes, and it's always a learning experience for us.
So
Well,
no collab.
when are we going to do our collab?
We
Winwood.
mentioned that already. I mean, either we should do it at Winwood or at Three Weavers, or at both.
How about both? Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it at both. No problem. I don't know. I haven't been to Florida in a while. I think I'm kind of overdue. I was thinking about my next trip out, but it's probably going to be sometime after the brewery opens. So.
Since I'm part of this conversation, am I indirectly invited to this, or is...
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to come out to LA, that's cool. And if it's in Miami, that's even easier for you. So.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Yeah, man, I like this Florida Vice style. This
Yeah.
Berliner Weiss called the Florida Weiss, apparently. You guys have your own beer style now. Congratulations.
We're trying.
I'm gonna
we're
brew
known
one.
for-
I'm
we're
gonna
known for
brew
the-
one and call it a Florida Weiss.
We're known for retirees, small bikinis, and Florida Vices.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic.
All right, so you made I guess we can. You've made it. You've collaborated with Stone. We were just talking about collaborations.
I did. I made a beer with Stone.
Who else have you collaborated with?
I've collaborated with Golden Road, in LA. We actually brewed a beer together in England, and then I collaborated with Nowell Ale Works out of Anaheim, Pizza Port, Solana Beach with Devin
Cool.
Randall. Due to do another collaboration with Stone, with Mitch
Awesome.
Steele in November, but that's with Three Weavers. And I don't know. I guess that's it.
If there's one
Oh,
collaboration that
Faction
you,
Brewing Company in Oakland, man. We made a tree with we made a beer with trees, with spruce trees.
Oh, I've been wanting to do a spruce beer so bad, but these guys here are like, nah, spruce smells
Actually,
bad.
sorry, we had fir. It was a fir tree because we couldn't get spruce trees, and it was like a month after Christmas. We were calling Santa's Tree Farm to try and get trees, and then one day we finally get a call back, and they were in Hudson Bay, like, yeah, we're chopping down a bunch of trees today. So if you just like want to come get your trees, just come get them. And so Roger Davis went down there in his Acura, like an Acura sedan, and he put like a tree in the trunk,
Packed it in
3
there.
trees in the back seat, and 1 tree in the front seat. And he's like driving
my
back
God.
to Hudson Bay with his car full of trees.
Well, it sounds like it's pretty common in California driving around with trees, but those
Yeah.
are pretty different than.
Legal.
who's your I guess if you could have one collaboration in the future, who would it be with? I guess that the answer to that would be, who. I guess it's like, if you ask LeBron James, who
I
would you
collaborated
ever want
with
to play
24/7.
against?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really hard question. I would really love to collaborate with some of the brewers in London, in England, some of the craft brewers that I love there. The Colonel Brewery, Partisan, Camden Town, Beavertown, would all of them would be awesome.
Beavertown.
They're fantastic. Okay, Robert Plant's son, Logan Plant, owns that brewery. You've heard of Robert
No
Plant,
way.
Led Zeppelin. Anyway, their
We
beers
talked
are
about
also
yourself.
fantastic. They're really cool guys. So
And Led
they would be.
Zeppelin has nothing to do with that.
I think my dream would probably be Firestone Walker, but they don't really collaborate with many people. You have to be like 3 Floyds. So I'm not 3 Floyds.
As the voice fades out, and she looks in the corner. All right, so you jumped to Kinetic after Drake's,
Mhm.
and you were lead brewer at Kinetic.
I was a head brewer.
Head brewer. And how long were you at Kinetic for?
I was at Kinetic for 9 months. Not a long time, but it was my first brew pub. I had never worked in a brew pub before, and I figured out that I am not a brew pub brewer.
That was my next question. So what made you realize that?
Well, I loved the ability to kind of make different beers whenever I wanted to, but it got a little sleepy for me. We didn't have that many tanks, and we had 5 fermenters, and once they were full, there's only so much you could do. Like, I just wanted to keep brewing, keep
Right.
making more beer, and I don't know what it is about production brewing. I like the reach of the production beers versus the pub. Plus, I didn't live by the brew pub. It's about 60 miles from my house out in northeast LA County in Lancaster, and so I didn't have the social experience of being a part of a brew pub like, say, Triple Rock in Berkeley. It just wasn't for me. And I was introduced to Lynn Weaver of Three Weavers through one of the equipment vendor that at Drake's we bought a bottling line from that she was talking to about brew house equipment, bottling line, tanks, and stuff like that. And we met and hit it off. She offered me a position as a brewmaster, and it was really at the very beginning stages of the brewery. There was no equipment chosen. There was no location chosen. None of this stuff had happened, so it was really a perfect time to bring me on so that I could give my professional input on how things should be done. And
It's like your little
we
baby.
broke ground a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we had the plumbing start going in today, which is really cool.
Awesome. What's your timeline looking like?
Well, now that we finally broke concrete, we should probably be brewing in 7 to 8 weeks. Probably about 7 weeks.
That's it?
That's
Yeah.
Fast.
That's so
It's
much
very fast.
faster
So
than
all of our equipment is already in LA at the equipment riggers waiting to get moved in. Our bottling line is delivered on Wednesday. I mean, the tile guys are coming out. We got brewery tile for our flooring. They're coming out in 2 weeks, and so it takes them about a week to install the tile. And then after that, all we have to do is wait 3 days, and then we can start putting our equipment down. So
I think if
Yeah.
Lewis was hearing this, he would pull his
Yeah.
hair out because it's taken 2 years for us to be where we're at now to open
Right.
up.
It took 10 weeks for permitting, and then even
That's it? Oh my god.
I'm
well, we're
telling
in the
you.
city of Inglewood. Inglewood's a lot smaller than Miami,
I'm
and
telling you, I'm gonna make sure that none of the brewers in South Florida hear you talking about this right now. I'm gonna edit this part out because they're gonna want to reach the screen and strangle you.
well, it was one of the reasons that we didn't get a property inside the city of LA. You know, we looked to one of the outlying cities. I mean, we're right on the LA border. Like, you can throw a rock across the street and you land in Los Angeles. But we're technically in Inglewood, and because of that, everything is much smaller, not as strained, although they're still pretty backlogged. I mean, it did take 10 weeks for a small department to push out all of our permitting. Yeah, but if that were in the city of LA, it probably would have taken 6 to 8 months.
All right, understood.
Yeah.
So
Our conditional use permit for our tasting room was approved in 35 days, and I've heard people in LA taking 18 months to get their tasting rooms permitted.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
we specifically chose to not be in the city of Los Angeles. No offense, LA, but you suck. Yeah.
Smart move.
And
Yeah.
you guys did a Kickstarter for the tasting room, right? Or you're still doing it?
Yeah, it's sorry, I'm responding to a text. Yeah, so we raised $25,000 through our Kickstarter. It was more for awareness of the project, the tasting room itself. Really, $25,000 out of a Kickstarter doesn't really buy much after the hats and the shirts and all the stuff that people actually give us money for. But it's allowing us to upgrade some of the finishes inside the tasting room, and I'm buying a really sweet tap tower, which is cool. I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, but it did raise a lot of awareness for our project.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
The Kickstarters, I mean, I know a lot of brewers are starting to use the Kickstarters now.
They are. Some people think we're panhandlers with like a website, which I don't necessarily agree with. Although if you did see that, like, there was some guy who was trying to do a Kickstarter for a potato salad.
I did see that.
He's raised like thousands of dollars for like the option to like allow you to watch him make potato salad over the internet. Like, these are the crazy rewards. So they're draining any sort of legitimacy out of this crowdsourcing campaigns.
People get off on that on crazy shit like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I've actually backed some really cool Kickstarters. I've definitely, and like Reading Rainbow just finished a Kickstarter from which they raised $6.5 million to, you know. But it was to give underprivileged kids and classrooms free licensing to like Reading Rainbow, which is really, really cool. I totally stood behind that. So there's some really cool campaigns for Kickstarter that I can get behind, and then there's those people who just want to make potato salad.
That's awesome. We should do a Kickstarter for your beer, Dave.
Yeah.
It's just going. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's got to be something we can get to make it grow faster.
That, and then like you can like Kickstart for grooming. Like, I need to stay groomed.
I am actually scheduling my annual trimming. This has been actually next week. Next week will be 1 year since having grown the beard. So beard rather. It's going to be an anniversary. So I'm
a lot of hair in you.
Hey, this is a lot of work.
So like for the Kickstarter, you could like make the little Kachina dolls, right? You know, like little dolls out of your hair.
I might just do that. I might.
Gross.
We got to put you like in a Duck Dynasty shirt and make a bobblehead.
You know, if it's not Duck Dynasty, it's Boston Red Sox, and then something like that. People walk by.
Love that.
Yeah, there it is. People walk down the street, they're like, "You want $1?" I'm like, "I'm not homeless. I just have a beer." They're like, "Give me money." I'm like, "All right."
That's so good. So, I mean, on a level of 1 to 10 of excitement for Three Weavers, where are you at a 20, 25?
Yeah,
30?
I'm just ready to make some damn beer. I mean, it's so much. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the background just to orchestrate everything that happens to finally get to that pivotal point where you're like standing on your brew deck, like, all right, let's mash in. And it's been a really awesome learning experience. But I'm ready. I'm ready.
What's the first thing that you're brewing?
I haven't. Okay, so I don't know exactly. It all depends on when that day comes. I'm trying to strategically get a certain amount of beers done because we are pouring at the Great American Beer Festival, so I need to be brewing and have beer for the festival. I'm not entering the competition or anything. I'm not entering the competition, but I am pouring on the festival floor. So
Nice.
we need to be brewing by September 1st at the very, very latest. And at that point, I'll probably try and probably brew the Kolsch immediately because it takes 3 weeks. And then I'll come up with the IPA, session IPA, ESB, throw in something cool, maybe a double IPA, I don't know.
What are you thinking as far as like your core line?
We have 5 core beers to start.
Okay.
And so that basically the thinking behind that allows us to do 5 beers, 4 seasonals, and one off a month. With the current tank space, we'll increase our core beers as we get more fermentation capacity. But we're starting with a Kolsch Session IPA as our flagship beer, an IPA, an ESB, and an Imperial Stout.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's fitting you would go with the Session IPA. I mean, we were talking to like the
Right.
founder of Session IPAs in the world, you
I
know?
can't take that credit for being the founder, but I was definitely one of the first brewers to
Dave, is there
make
any
one.
way you can put
But
like
learning
a
from those people, huh?
is there any way we can put one of those crowns on you with the Google apps?
Don't. So Jesse Hauk, my boyfriend, he has been credited as being
I'm
the
on it.
godfather of the Session IPA. So give him the crown.
Oh, there's another plug.
Oh shit! No, don't do that, David.
Well, maybe I give you the crown and you give it to him. But at the end of the day, that's a good point you bring up. So I mean, we're not gonna get into your personal life, but being that you are sleeping with the enemy, how does pillow talk happen? I'm sure. Like, let's hear the the number one disagreement brewing wise between you and Jesse. Like, what do you guys just like hash out that you just cannot come to terms with brewing wise?
I don't know. Actually, we're pretty similar as brewers. The number one point of contention between the both of us right now is when is Three Weavers actually going to open. I tell him, every time like I'm telling someone when we're going to open, I can feel him rolling his eyes at me. He thinks that it's going to take a lot longer than I do, and that's the only real thing. We're very similar when it comes to recipe development and how we should pay our staff and just kind of overall demeanor as a brewer. Really similar.
Impressed? It's good.
Yeah.
Give that
Happy
crown to
home.
him.
Give the crown to him. I will. I'll make sure to show him the crown.
Oh God, you've got the crown.
Thanks.
That's awesome. And it's gone.
Perfect.
Just like that.
I got another profound question. Like Dave, what's your favorite color?
I like purple.
Purple.
I saw that coming.
Or
I
maybe
never wear purple, but I love it.
what about this is some of the questions I ask on the website. What about are you a dog or a cat person?
A dog person.
Do you have
Large
a dog?
dogs, no small fluffy things. No, I would like one, but I like to travel too much, so
Tell me about it. I've got two of them.
yeah.
Kills my traveling. Which is why I can't go out there and collaborate. You know what I mean?
It's alright. I'll come to Miami. It's fine. But I would love a dog because we have plenty of space in the brewery. I could have a brewery dog run around, but then Jesse and I like to take diving trips, and we haven't really conned any of our friends into the point of wanting to watch our dogs for us.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I haven't trained your dogs to dive yet. I mean, like that's what I would do.
I mean, the dogs can come to Mexico, right? If we go to Baja, but say we want to go to Bali, you can't bring big dogs on the plane. You can, for some reason though, what's so messed up is you can bring your teeny tiny little fluffy Pomeranians on a fucking plane, excuse me, and
It's the
you can't
internet.
bring a big dog. So that's kind of like discrimination against real dogs. No offense. What kind of dogs do you have?
We need the furry boot society for them.
All
think there's
right.
program. What kind of
I've
dogs
got-
do you have, Marco?
I have an English bulldog
Okay.
named Mackenzie. See, and I've got an American bulldog. He's actually you can't see him. He's actually right out there. He's 115 pounds.
So you've got
That's
a real
right.
dog.
That's my brewery dog.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I homebrew. Dave saw me the other day
Yeah,
homebrewing.
totally.
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm sure that I would sell a lot of beer because I don't try any barbecue beers or anything like that. But
It's okay.
your standard pale ale, and I'm using the. I like to use Sierra Nevada as kind of my base for where I'm going with my pale ales. I like to do pale ales.
I've kind of gone away from the crystal malt heavy pale ales. I don't know. I like hops, not a lot of crystal malts, and pretty dry, low mash temp beers. But that's just a California thing, I think. And then Southern California, even more so, is kind of diverged from what's happening in Northern California to some extent, and gone a little more tropical with their beers, rather than the kind of resinous things that happen typically in Northern California. Although there are some, there are outliers to that trend in Northern California. So.
I love the resinous California beers. I mean, are you guys? Do you I guess when you go into thinking about what you're going to brew at your brewery, are you thinking about what are the people here in California going to drink, or is it, I'm just going to brew what I want to brew. I'm going to do a really good job of brewing it, and people are going to drink it.
So a little column A, a little column B. You have to make what people want, but then I also try to maintain my integrity as the brewer. So I brew what I want to drink, but you do have to keep in mind, style-wise, what the market's going to want to buy into. Like, I'm not going to make a flagship Grotzer. No one's going to want to drink it. Or like a Braggot. Those are little one-off passion project things. You look at Golden Road, who focuses in on a lot of IPAs, but they just started making a lager. They discontinued their Kolsch because, to some extent, the term Kolsch takes some education. People realize it's pretty close to like the Pilsners they've been drinking. And
I love Kolsch's.
So do I. It's one of my favorite styles of beer, which is why I'm brewing one. We're in a market where I can sell Kolsch. It's fine. I can educate people. We don't need to sell that much of it. But their lager is fantastic. It's an awesome craft lager, 329 lager from Golden Road, and they're responding to the LA market when they make something like that. So
I've noticed that craft breweries now, or at least craft beer drinkers now, are really getting into these craft pilsners, craft lagers. I think, is there like a swing now to say, hey, not all the pilsners are like the big boys. We're going to make a really good, solid pilsner. I was just in the Czech Republic. Winwood makes a Czech-styled pilsner now, which is really good. But I guess, are people opening their eyes now over there in California, thinking, hey, we can? There's really high quality lagers, pilsners out there. It's not just big boy, big beer.
Well, yeah, but if you look at it from the brewer's perspective, a lot of the hesitance to brewing lagers is that it takes up tank space for too long, and we just don't have a premium on being able to let beer sit in our tanks for longer than it needs to be, and it's just being kind of maxed out production-wise. So being able to brew a lager for me for the first year or two will probably be kind of a luxury. I'd like to actually get horizontal lagering tanks at some point so that I can just like throw a black lager in to sit for 6 weeks, or be able to brew an Oktoberfest every year. But we won't be able to keep up with the demand, so we're gonna brew ales. More of a necessity thing. Although I'd love to have a year-round pilsner. It's one of my favorite styles.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dave, do you want to talk about your pilsner real quick?
I drink lots of it. No, yeah, it's well. Here's the thing, our brewmaster, he's from Gordon Beer Schnick, and they're pretty much stylistically trained through German, essentially German style. So they're taught on doing pilsners, they're doing Rausch beers, doing a whole bunch of stylistically set German beers, and so like we talked to him about lagers, like I got this idea, I got that idea. He just it's like mind dump on paper. So he's really good at formulating, that kind of stuff. But I mean, we went, pretty traditional. I'll tell you, we use a really rare hop. You never see a pilsner's Czech sauce. But just the way it came through was good. I mean, it's neat because it's lighter than our current flagship, La Rubia, being our blonde ale. But it does have just another dimension as far as being very clean. We use pretty much superior Pils malt, so very crisp. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's 1,000,000 degrees out, so we drink a lot of that beer, and it does quench the thirst pretty well. So no corn, no rice, no funny domestic American lager stuff going on in there. But
yeah, I like rice and beer sometimes.
Look at you.
I don't like corn and beer, but I like rice and beer sometimes. It really lightens up the body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about that, the lighter body crisp beers.
Yeah, I mean, so being in LA where we don't have the humidity that Miami has, but it gets hot. I mean, we see a lot of days over 90 throughout the summer, and especially in some of the valleys, and people drink along the same lines. I think that the beer scenes aren't too drastically different. Los Angeles and Miami, both are fairly late adopters of the craft beer scene, and I think that's Miami and LA both like to create a lot of their own trends, and they're hesitant to adopt new trends from outside. That's why I think that LA was kind of late to the game in craft beer, and Miami similar, other than the legislation in Miami or in Florida is pretty unfriendly to craft brewers. So that has a lot to do with it too. California, fortunately, we don't have that issue as much, but we're getting there. Both cities are getting there. I know that if I had been coming up and interested in craft brewing now and still like just getting out of college at FIU, I probably wouldn't have left Miami because I loved living there when I was there. It's just at the time there was no options for me. I applied to Yingling in Tampa for a job. Didn't get it.
So what's I guess being as though California just in general has a much more established beer scene than we've got down here. I mean, legislation aside, I guess advice for the little baby Miami scene going forward. I guess, do you have anything you see as that? I guess what are the steps that to achieve something like California?
Quality. Quality is the number one issue. You have a lot of people even here starting up that don't really know what they're doing, and the quality just isn't there. You're not going to survive unless your beer is really good. And there's so many more really awesome breweries out there these days that competition quality-wise, and the standard is much higher than maybe it used to be. So really, it's all about quality, and then the breweries will follow, the kind of, larger amount, the growth of the craft brewing industry in Miami will continue. Just people need to make sure that the beer is good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy that we can say that you're from Miami. One, we're really proud of you. Me and Dave were talking about it. Dave is super proud. Look at his cheeks. They're turning red.
It's really freaking hot back here. I'm dying.
We're really proud of you from being down here, doing what you're doing out there. I wish you nothing but the best, the Three Weavers, in the future. I hope that you can come down here and brew with Winwood so I can go meet you in person.
Yeah, totally. I will, and I'll send some beer when we finally have some beer to send.
Look how happy everyone just got.
I'm happy. I'm great.
Yeah, so, a few months we'll have beer in bottles I can send over. So
it's awesome. I can't wait. I want to say this is the first Craft Commander podcast or Skype cast that's going to be on the website. Cool. As we were sitting here, Vinny from Russian River is going to do something for the site too. So we're getting some more California love.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And I just got to say, I think there's no better way to start the Craft Commander podcast, videocast, than starting it with Hometown Girl kicking ass out in California.
Thanks.
And we can't wait to hear what the rest of your career has in store.
Thanks. Although now that I said that Sean would get my back, let's hope Vinny understands why I said that.
Oh.
Sean, you still have my back. You should email him too.
All right, guys. Dave, thank you for sitting in, adding very profound commentary. And it's always a blast being around Dave.
Whatever I can do to make awkward moments, I'm here for you guys.
All right, guys. With that, we're ending our first videocast. I think it was pretty well.
All right.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your humid Miami evening.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.